Harbinger has, again, before I move into a story, I'd like to just brief you about one of the frameworks we have at Harbinger for modernization. So basically, we've built, a framework to aid modernization, and it is known as the xSMART framework. So it is nothing but a solution accelerator designed for teams to successfully implement and execute their whole content modernization strategy. So let us talk about the first layer in this framework. So the X factor here is the whole automation piece that you see in the center, which supports in handling volume work. So the sooner we identify what role can automation play in one's modernization journey, the more rapid and cost-effective would be the whole process. Along with this, we've also built custom utility tools which help us extract content from legacy courses and then repurpose them into newer formats. And it is even possible if you don't have the source files available in majority of the legacy cases is what we've seen. And one brief point we touched upon earlier was how to achieve scalability. So in the whole modernization journey. So it's going behind with a templatized approach. Again, in a typical e-learning development, you start off with storyboarding and then move towards the actual development. Having said that, nothing wrong in that approach, but just imagine we're talking about like hours of learning materials to be repurposed. So I don't think that's the best option to move ahead with. So that's where we flipped this approach a little for modernization, where we first analyze legacy courses. And based on the results, we create a template library which acts as a guiding factor throughout the entire production process. And our instructional designers propose replacing screens within a legacy course based on the new templates that have been developed. And once we have the templates ready and identified for each screen, we can then, then automation plays a role to populate the extracted content back into these templates. So that's the first layer. And then moving on to the second layer of the framework, which talks more about various other aspects you should consider as part of your modernization strategy. So again, we spoke about how learning needs to be available in the flow of work or at the point of need or just-in-time learning. And the key aspect to make this happen is to ensure that your content is easily searchable. And it could be achieved in two simple steps. So first is instructionally identifying your key learning objectives, and then metadata tagging the content with relevant keywords there. So that will kind of help us making content easily available to the learners. Again, we spoke about micro-learning. So this is a good time when you can also think about chunking your long courses into bite-sized modules, depending on your key learning objectives. Not necessarily all content needs to be in a micro format, but in case you have to retain the longer courses, you can always use these micro nuggets as reinforcement tools for your learners, which you can roll out after a particular program is done. So that's the micro piece. And moving on to the next one is making courses accessible to ensure the content is available for everyone, even the differently abled audiences. So this is, again, a good time to think about implementing accessibility standards like Section 508 or VCAG 2.0, 2.1, other industry, geography-specific accessibility standards that are out there. And one advantage to implement this at an early stage of the modernization journey is that it can be implemented at a template level and not manually for each and every screen. So it can be like a global global implementation which can be done. And then the other piece is the responsive piece. So again, smartphones and tablets have been an integral part of our lives, not only for communication and entertainment, but a lot of learning consumptions is also happening through smartphones these days. So making sure the modernized courses are device agnostic, and that will be one of the key factors to deliver trainings on the go. The last piece of this framework is the whole trackability aspect, which even Paul touched upon. So SCORM has been around for many years, and definitely it is here to stay. But there's only so much insight that a SCORM package can bring. So stakeholders are looking for even more flexibility and deeper analytics on a learner behavior and performances to ensure they're moving in the right direction to achieve, their goals. And this is again a good time to implement some custom trackable features to get better analytics. So yeah, that was a little bit about the framework, and I wanted to share an interesting story on how we supported one of our customers modernize their legacy content. So we work with a catalog e-learning training provider based in Tampa, Florida. So they did online training and continuing education to a broad range of industries, including architecture, engineering, construction, and many more industries. So the ask here was to convert more than 600 hours of legacy Flash-based content to a newer format. And they also wanted like a modern look and feel to it, and implementing Section 508 compliance standards, and making the module searchable as well as, in micro format. So in short, basically everything that we saw in the xSMART framework, that was the ask there. And apart from this, they wanted minimum involvement of their internal teams and SMEs. So that was one kind of requirement that they wanted to stay out of this whole modernization handed over to Harbinger. The beauty of it was 80% of the courses did not have source files available. So, and being a catalog company, these courses were, bread and butter for them, and they had to aggressively go to market within the next 5 months. So that was an aggressive timeline we had to achieve. And that's where, again, we came with an end-to-end solution using our xSMART framework, where we designed responsive HTML5 templates, which also supported Section 508 compliance. And then we developed custom utility tools, which helped us automate the whole process of extracting assets from SWF files to, developed half-baked courses, and then moving towards the final development. And because it was the timeline was stringent, again, we were able to quickly ramp up our ID and QA teams to achieve these timelines. And I'm happy to say we achieved that, within 5 months, way within 5 months. So that was one interesting case I just wanted to share with all of you.